And Forum Daily is back with our weekly energy update with Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. All yours, Dan.
Well, good to be here again, Nima. And, it is always a very unpredictable, except when it comes to gas prices, week when you do a forecast here for fuel. We have seen the markets violently react to the idea that somehow contagion or problems with some of the banks in the United States, not a new issue. We've been on that issue now for about 4 or 5 weeks, but First Republic being sold off or having to be closed down had energy traders basically throwing away their positions. And we saw oil drop from about $78 a barrel last week. And I'm just looking at the numbers here all the way down to about $73, $74 a barrel. The Canadian dollar lost a bit of ground. At one point trading at almost 133 pennies to buy a US dollar, now back up to 136, 137. So it does look like energy prices are going to make a rebound this week. Not a big one, but one that is finally going to force, I think, energy traders. And I'm not referring to the physical traders, those taking, shipments of oil or gasoline or diesel or whatever the case may be. I'm talking about those who are day traders, the algorithms, the hedge funds, the folks that really don't have direct interest in this particular commodity are now going to have to be very polite, smarten up. There is a significant supply shortage, significant and made more obvious by the fact that much of what we have is either being, as of today or as of this week, OPEC will be implementing the second phase of its cut of 1.16 million barrels a day. A lot of markets assume that was happening immediately. No, it just starts this week. It's going to leave at a time in which we see surging demand, not just among North American, European economies, but around the world. Surging demand, which will bring us up to about 102 million barrels a day from the current 99, 100 million barrels of consumption a day. So that increase of 2% at a time in which demand is extraordinarily strong and supply is probably about 2 million barrels a day off from that number, means that there's a pretty big gap, which will get bigger each and every day. I noticed storage facilities, floating storage, whether it's Iranian or whether it happens to be other nations, have seen dramatic drops as well. So spare barrels will become a thing of great interest over the next several weeks. And that means here in Canada, the 5 or 6 cent decrease that we saw in the past week in places like Atlantic Canada and British Columbia may come to an end, and we will start to see a bit of a U-turn. Not a big one. My prediction overall is that we're going to see about a 2 cent increase on average across Canada today. So if you're paying $1.83.9 in Vancouver as of Saturday, look for that to go back to about $1.86, $1.87. In Alberta, it'll remain stable in the 142, 143 range. In Calgary, 139, 140 in Edmonton. Still 160 and 167 respectively in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. There's some room for those prices to come down, especially on the retail margins, which are extraordinarily generous. I would say that their public is in line there and should be in line for about a 7 cent correction to the advantage of consumers. It's a matter of time before gas stations continue to hold out these high prices. Ontario, been holding in the 155, 157 range. Look for that to move up about 3 to 4 cents a liter towards $1.60, likely by midpoint Wednesday of next week. And of course, Quebec, always 12 cents a liter more expensive. It used to be 16, but since they have a carbon tax cap and trade, which didn't move and gets a pass from the federal Liberal government, they will continue to see prices in about the $1.72 range. They're currently $1.67, $1.68. That's for both Montreal and Quebec City, Trois-Rivières, and all places in between. For the Maritimes, well, you saw a big decrease of 5.5 cents a liter. And that wasn't because of markets. It's because the regulated authorities, the bureaucrats who make decisions on gas prices, realized that they jumped the gun a few weeks ago and said summer gas prices are way up and we should pass those on to consumers immediately. There was no rush for that. So after 2 weeks of basically fleecing the public, they're finally giving that money back, and they did so this week. So I would expect, though, at the end of the week, gas prices by Thursday and Friday for Newfoundland, for New Brunswick, PEI, and of course for Nova Scotia will head up about 2.5 to 3 cents a liter. That's almost a wrap, but remind ourselves that Atlantic Canada still has to face the increase in carbon taxes on July the 1st, especially Nova Scotia. And of course, the second carbon tax, which we all face at the end of June, beginning of July, in which they increase ethanol by about 4 or 5%. That'll mean less mileage driven. That's it for this week, Nima. We'll talk to you next week.
And that was Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Forum Daily's crypto update up next, so don't go away.